Why do some people become impossible to forget? Why can one person occupy your thoughts for months or even years, while someone else disappears from your memory almost overnight? And why do intelligent, self-aware people keep falling in love with the same kind of partner, even after promising themselves they never will again? At first, it feels extraordinary. You meet someone, and almost instantly, they seem different from everyone else. Being with them feels strangely familiar, as if you've known them long before you actually met. You begin imagining a future together. Their flaws seem insignificant. Their attention feels intoxicating. For a while, it seems you've finally found the person you've been searching for. But then, the relationship begins to change. The person who once seemed perfect becomes confusing. The qualities that first attracted you become the very things that hurt you. And you're left asking a painful question. How did I fall in love with the wrong person again? More than a century ago, the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung offered a remarkable answer. He believed that, at the beginning of many relationships, we aren't simply falling in love with another person. We're also responding to something within ourselves. According to Jung, what feels like destiny may sometimes begin as projection, an unconscious process that quietly shapes who attracts us, who we idealize, and why certain people seem impossible to let go of. Whether or not every part of Jung's theory is correct, his ideas continue to influence psychotherapy, analytical psychology, and the way millions of people think about love and relationships. In this video, we'll explore why attraction can feel like fate, what Jung meant by the Anima and the Animus, why we often repeat the same relationship patterns, and why, according to Jung, truly seeing another person may begin only after the illusion starts to fade. Have you ever met someone and felt as though you'd known them for years? Not because you actually had, but because something about them felt immediately familiar. A single conversation can leave a deeper impression than months spent with someone else. Their smile, their voice, the way they look at you. Suddenly, ordinary moments begin to feel meaningful. Many people describe this as chemistry. Others call it love at first sight. Some call it fate. Whatever we choose to call it, the experience feels undeniably real. Modern neuroscience helps explain part of why. During the early stages of romantic attraction, the brain releases chemicals associated with reward, motivation, and anticipation, especially dopamine. That surge can make a new relationship feel exciting, intoxicating, even unforgettable. Yet there's a fascinating contradiction. At the very moment our emotions feel strongest, we usually know the least about the other person. We don't yet know how they handle conflict, how they respond to disappointment, or who they become once the excitement fades. So why can someone we've only just met feel so important? Carl Jung believed the answer lies in the unconscious. According to Jung, we never encounter another person with a completely blank mind. Long before we truly know who they are, our unconscious begins interpreting what we see through memories, desires, past experiences, and hidden expectations. The less information we have, the more room there is for the mind to fill in what is missing. Jung believed this is why the beginning of love can feel almost dreamlike. We aren't simply discovering another person, we're also responding to the meaning our own unconscious gives them. That doesn't make our feelings false. The attraction is real. The excitement is real. But according to Jung, part of what feels so extraordinary may come not only from the person standing before us, but from something already living within ourselves. He called this process projection. And for Jung, projection wasn't a mistake. It was one of the most powerful forces shaping how human beings fall in love. But what exactly are we projecting, and why do certain people seem to trigger it so powerfully? Imagine you've been seeing someone for only a few weeks. You've shared a handful of conversations. maybe a few dates. And perhaps you've already started imagining a future together. Yet if someone asked you a simple question, who are they really? You probably couldn't answer. You don't know how they handle disappointment, how they react under pressure, how they treat people when no one is watching, or who they'll become once everyday life replaces the excitement of something new. And yet, this is often the moment people feel the most certain. I finally found the right person. Carl Jung believed that certainty rarely comes from what we know. It comes from what the unconscious quietly adds. He called this process projection. In everyday psychology, projection often means attributing our own thoughts or feelings to someone else. But Jung used the word differently. For him, projection meant unconsciously placing parts of our own inner world onto another person. Our longings, our ideals, our unmet emotional needs, even qualities we struggle to recognize within ourselves. The less we know about someone, the easier it becomes for the mind to complete the missing pieces. It's a little like seeing the outline of a painting hidden beneath a cloth. Your imagination begins filling in the colors long before the fabric is removed. Jung believed this happens in many romantic relationships. The person in front of us may genuinely possess qualities we admire, but our unconscious quietly enlarges them. At the same time, it softens contradictions, excuses warning signs, and overlooks anything that doesn't fit the story we've already begun to believe. Modern psychology describes similar tendencies through concepts like idealization and confirmation bias. Once we form a positive impression of someone, our attention naturally begins favoring information that supports it while filtering out what challenges it. This doesn't mean people in love are irrational. It means the human mind is remarkably good at protecting the story. It wants to be true. Eventually, reality begins to catch up. Small inconsistencies appear. Promises are forgotten. Flaws become visible. The person hasn't necessarily changed. We're simply seeing more of who they've been all along. That's why people often say, "You're not the person I fell in love with." But Jung would have asked a different question. Did they change, or did the projection begin to fade? If that's true, what exactly is the unconscious projecting onto another person? To answer that question, we need to explore two of Jung's most influential and most controversial ideas: the Anima and the Animus. If projection shapes the way we first see another person, where does that projection come from? According to Carl Jung, it doesn't appear out of nowhere. He believed we all carry unconscious psychological images that quietly influence how we experience other people. This is where Jung introduced two of the most discussed and most debated ideas in his psychology: the Anima and the Animus. These concepts are often misunderstood. They're sometimes described as simply the feminine side of a man or the masculine side of a woman. But Jung meant something much deeper. In his theory, the Anima was the unconscious inner feminine image within a man's psyche. The Animus was the unconscious inner masculine image within a woman's psyche. These weren't descriptions of biological sex, nor were they ideals of how men or women should behave. They were symbolic psychological patterns. According to Jung, they develop over the course of life, shaped by personal experience, important relationships, and the meanings we attach to them. Over time, they become part of the invisible lens through which we experience other people. Imagine putting on a pair of glasses with a subtle tint. At first, you don't notice the color. You simply believe you're seeing the world exactly as it is. Only later do you realize the lens has been influencing everything you see. Jung believed the Anima and the Animus can work in much the same way. When someone reminds us, consciously or unconsciously, of this inner image, our minds begin filling in everything we don't yet know about them. That is why attraction can feel so immediate. It can seem as though we found someone we've been searching for our entire lives. not because we've fully seen who they are, but because they resemble a picture the unconscious already carries. Modern psychology explains this experience differently. Researchers are more likely to describe it through attachment patterns, relationship schemas, emotional learning, and unconscious expectations rather than Jung's archetypes. But both perspectives point toward a similar idea. The beginning of love is shaped not only by the person standing in front of us, but also by the invisible psychological patterns we bring into the relationship ourselves. For Jung, the goal was never to eliminate these unconscious images. It was to become aware of them, because the more invisible they remain, the more powerfully they shape our choices without us even noticing. But if these hidden patterns continue guiding our attraction, could they also explain why so many people keep repeating the same relationships again and again? Have you ever noticed that some people seem to live the same relationship over and over again? The faces are different, the names are different. Sometimes even the circumstances are completely different. And yet, the ending feels strangely familiar. They keep falling for partners who are emotionally unavailable, or controlling, or unpredictable, or people who always seem to need saving. After every heartbreak, they promise themselves, "Next time, I'll choose differently." But months or years later, the same story begins again. Carl Jung believed this wasn't simply bad luck. If the unconscious patterns shaping our attraction remain unchanged, the people who trigger those patterns often feel familiar. And familiarity can be incredibly persuasive, not because it's always healthy, but because the mind naturally trusts what it recognizes. Modern psychology describes something similar. Our early relationships help shape unconscious expectations about closeness, trust, and emotional safety. Those expectations don't determine who we'll love, but they can influence what feels emotionally familiar, even when that familiarity leads to pain. This may explain why two people can meet the very same person and have completely different experiences. One notices the warning signs and walks away. The other feels an even stronger attraction. The difference isn't necessarily the person. It's the psychological lens each individual brings into the relationship. Jung believed projection becomes especially powerful when someone appears to possess qualities we've become disconnected from within ourselves. Perhaps we're drawn to someone's confidence because we've never fully trusted our own. Perhaps we admire someone's independence because we've spent our lives seeking approval, or perhaps we become deeply attached to someone who seems emotionally complete because we're searching for a sense of wholeness we haven't yet found within ourselves. In those moments, the other person becomes more than a partner. They become a symbol of the life we want, the person we hope to become, or the part of ourselves we've never fully accepted. That is why letting go can feel so devastating. Sometimes we're not only grieving the relationship, we're grieving the future we imagined, the identity we hoped to build, or the version of ourselves we believed could finally exist with that person. Jung believed that recognizing these unconscious patterns isn't about becoming suspicious of love. It's about becoming free enough to choose it consciously. Because the moment we begin seeing the projection, it slowly loses its power. And only then can we begin seeing another person, not as a reflection of our unconscious, but as they truly are. If that's where real love begins, what happens after the illusion finally disappears? If projection shapes the beginning of love, what happens when it begins to fade? For many couples, this is the turning point. The excitement becomes quieter. The certainty begins to disappear. The person who once seemed almost perfect starts revealing ordinary human imperfections. They disappoint us, misunderstand us, lose their patience, make mistakes, just as we do. For some relationships, this is where everything falls apart. The illusion disappears and nothing seems to replace it. But Carl Jung saw this moment differently. He believed that the end of projection is not necessarily the end of love. It may be the beginning of a different kind of love. Because only when projection begins to fade do we gain the chance to see another person more clearly, not as the answer to our loneliness, not as someone destined to complete us, but as a human being with strengths, limitations, dreams, fears, and a life as rich and complicated as our own. That kind of love is usually less dramatic. It doesn't always feel like destiny. It doesn't promise perfection. Instead, it asks for something much more difficult: to remain curious, to accept disappointment, to choose another person even after the fantasy has faded. Jung believes psychological growth follows the same path. The more aware we become of our unconscious patterns, the less we expect another person to carry them for us. In his view, individuation, the lifelong process of becoming more psychologically whole, doesn't make love less important. It changes what we ask of it. Modern psychology arrives at a similar conclusion through different language. Research consistently shows that lasting relationships depend less on intense attraction than on qualities such as trust, emotional safety, mutual respect, and the ability to repair conflict together. Perhaps that is why mature love often feels so different from infatuation. Infatuation asks, "How do you make me feel?" Mature love slowly begins asking, "Who are you beyond the image I created?" Perhaps that is the real transformation, not finding the perfect person, but learning to love a real one. And perhaps that is where love truly begins. Love has inspired poets, philosophers, artists, and psychologists for centuries. Yet even today, it remains one of the greatest mysteries of human life. Carl Jung believed that what we call love often begins long before we truly know another person. It begins with the stories our unconscious quietly tells us, the images we carry, the hopes we protect, the parts of ourselves we've never fully understood. Whether or not every part of Jung's theory is correct, his deeper question still feels remarkably relevant. When we fall in love, how much of what we see truly belongs to the other person, and how much comes from ourselves? Perhaps becoming aware of that question doesn't make love less magical. Perhaps it makes it more honest. Because the greatest gift another person can offer us may not be the feeling of being completed. It may be the opportunity to discover the parts of ourselves we never knew were waiting to be seen. Maybe that's why relationships can change us so profoundly, not because they reveal who the other person is, but because they reveal who we are. If you enjoyed this exploration of Carl Jung's ideas, subscribe to Hidden Patterns. Until then, look inward. Because sometimes the person we're searching for in someone else is quietly waiting to be discovered within ourselves.